Hello there everyone, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this twisted Celtic micro macrame bracelet. And this is the one that I've made here using these materials. So I just use a nice kind of darker grey cord and then combine it with these copper metal spacer beads to make them pop a little bit and give a nice effect. You can also choose to not add in the beads, that's completely up to you. But then this is what the actual full length bracelet looks like. So you have this pattern going all the way along. And then on the wrist, it'll get this really nice effect with that twisted Celtic look to it, going all the way along the wrist. So if you want to learn how to make this bracelet, then stay tuned. So it's these materials that we're going to be needing. First of all, we need the cord, and this is a 0.4mm s-lon that I'm using in this nice dark grey colour there. And then if you want to add beads in, we just need some quite tiny ones. So what I have here are 2mm metal spacer beads in copper. Now that's just what I'm using. It'll go nicely with that grey colour of the cord, I think. You can really use whatever you want to. Seed beads are also a great choice. And then to finish off the ends of the bracelet, I have these 30mm ribbon ends, where I'm then going to attach my lobster claw clasp extender chain using the jump rings. So let's get it all together and let's get started. So the cords that we're going to need are first of all 6 lengths here of about 2 meters each, and these are mainly going to be the holding cords. And then we're going to need another 3 lengths of the same cord of about 4.5 meters each, and these are longer because these are mainly going to be the working cords throughout. So I've then just attached a short length of cord here of the same cord that I'm using for the bracelet onto my project macrame board that I'm working on, and I'm also using these T-pins to hold everything in place. Makes it much more handy to work with throughout. But we then need to take all the lengths of cord that we cut off and attach them to this length here. So I'm just going to take one at a time, and first of all what we need to do is find the middle by putting both of the ends together there. So then I have roughly the midpoint of this little loop, and then I'm going to put this underneath the cord that's on the board, so the holding cord for now. So like that. Bring the loop here back over the top, put my fingers through, and then pull the ends all the way through, and then you can see as you're pulling it down you get this little pretzel shape, and then tighten that. So that's now attached, but what we also need to do is add another knot on either side. So just separate the cords out here. They're naturally going to be coming out to their own side, so just take one side at a time. Just going to start with my right one. Going to take the cord, bring it back over the top of the holding cord again, back underneath it by lifting it up, and then make sure to come up through the loop here on the bottom. So that's now the knot there. It's basically a half hitch. Then you tighten that. So that's now going to sit right next to that first lax head knot. Same with the other side. Take your cord back over the holding cord, lift it up, bring it back underneath, and make sure to pull it out through the loop and pull it all the way through, and then tighten this so we have the equivalent here on this side now as well. And that's how you want to attach all of the lengths of cord. So now I've attached all my cords, and what you can see is each cord that we attached has now turned into 2 working lengths. So this was one cord that we attached, but it's now turned into 2 that we can make the bracelet with, and that's what we need. So what I'm just going to do is tell you the order that I've attached them in as well. So if I start from the middle, the very middle cord that we attached, obviously it's turned into 2 lengths, but this one was one of the long cords, and then the next one to either side. So that one and that one there, they were short ones, and then working on to the next one on either side, grabbing that, and then just separating that out as well. And then they're also short ones, and then moving on to the next ones. So the second to last ones on either side, they were long cords again, and the very outer ones on either side are short ones. So that's the order that I've attached them in, and you just want to push them close together just like that. So then the first thing we want to do now before we start getting into the actual pattern of the piece is make a few rows of knots here just to create a bit of spacing that we can then use to finish it off at the end. So it doesn't matter what side you start from, I'm just going to take my cord furthest to the left, bring that over all the others towards the right, and then I need to make a row here of knots right underneath the row that we have by attaching all the cords. So I'm then going to grab the very next cord that's coming underneath there first. That's going to be the first working cord, and the one that I brought over to the side, that's the holding cord. So what I'm going to do is take the working cord there, around my finger, back underneath the holding cord and through the loop. So it loops around like that. We end up with a bit of a 6 looping around the holding cord. Tighten that all the way up, and when you tighten that, make sure to hold the holding cord a little bit up like that, because that makes sure that the rows become nice and tight together. Do another one to make it a double half hitch, so the exact same knot. Tighten that, and then grab the very next cord, and when we're taking these cords as the new working cord, make sure that you always grab the very next one so they don't cross over and under each other, right there underneath, but then make a double half hitch with that in the exact same way, and then tighten that as well right after the previous one. Now what you want to do is continue like this, using each cord, always the very next one, working your way all the way to the very end there. Now that I then reached all the way to the other end, and we have that first row in place, or the second one technically, then we need to move back the other way and make another row, because we also need this cord to come back in the original position. So all I'm going to do is bring it again to the opposite side across the top of all the other cords, and then we just start again, except everything is now mirrored, so our hands have swapped jobs as well. So what I'm just going to do is this comes over, so that's the holding cord yet again, and the first one that comes underneath is the first working cord, and you just do another double half hitch in the same way, but like I said, using opposite hands. And then you start your next row, again making sure it's as nice and tight as possible to the previous one. Get the very next cord, and then continue this again all the way to the other end. So now I have my 3 rows in place here underneath each other, and I have all my cords coming out from the last one. Then what I also just want to do is kind of separate all my cords into groups that we'll be working with throughout. So all I'm going to really do is each group is going to have 3 lengths of cord, and I just have them all the way along there evenly. So we have these groups with each 3 lengths of cord in them. Now I'm going to start out just working with a few groups at a time, so I'm just going to put all the other ones out to the sides to get them out of the way so we don't kind of get them mixed up. So I'm just starting on the left side here, doesn't matter what side you start on, but with these 2 groups, so not the outer one but the next 2 in. You could also just start with the 2 on the opposite side that are positioned the same, because we're going to be moving on to them and doing the exact same thing anyway. So like I said, it doesn't really matter. But then what we need to do is start out the pattern here. So first of all, we just need to separate the cords out for which one is the long one and then which ones are the short ones. So in both groups here, the very outer one is the long one. So the 2 inner ones on either group are the short ones, and we're going to start with them, because what we're going to basically be doing first is kind of a connection point that we'll be doing throughout as well. And what we need to do is first of all take the 2 inner ones, so the 2 cords right there in the middle, one from each group technically, and we need to cross these over each other. So I'm just going to take my right one over the left one, and then we're going to make a half hitch. So just put it around your finger, the cord that's coming underneath, and then back through the loop, so under the other one, and then you have something that looks a bit like that, so kind of a reverse 6. And then I'm going to tighten this all the way up right below the row of knots there, and kind of coming out a bit at an angle like that. And then I'm going to just drop that holding cord for now, grab the next holding cord, so that's the next one out to the right side, and then make sure to bring the working cord that I'm just using to make knots with underneath it, and then make a double half hitch, so around finger and through the loop, back underneath it, and then tighten this all the way up, and once more for a double. Again, tighten this until it won't go any further. And that's just the beginning part for now. So we have the 2 rows started out there, and then I'm going to grab the both holding cords again, leave the working cord I just used to that side for now, and then take the next cord on this left side, so that's also one of the short ones, and then bring that underneath the first of the holding cords that we just used, and then do a double half hitch, tighten that, and we continue the row. So also make sure you continue to hold the holding cord here in the same direction at that same angle, coming a bit out to the side, and then bring it underneath the next holding cord, and also tighten that all the way down, so you can slowly start to see that we're continuing the rows, just like that. And then what we need to do is the same thing on the other side. So we need to build some rows here going in the opposite direction, so kind of out to the opposite side. But here, what I have left is the long cord, so that's what we're going to be using. We're also going to use the one on the other side, we haven't done that yet, but just to show you, to kind of make a little corner right there in the beginning. This outer cord is going to be the working cord. I'm going to bring that underneath the middle one, out of the 3 on this side, and then do a double half hitch. Tighten that all the way down. We've kind of swapped hands now, and now on this side, just to show you here how to make these rows, you got to make sure to hold this holding cord out at an angle, but in the opposite direction to the other ones, to kind of create this corner right in the middle there. So that's another one. We have a double half hitch, bring the working cord underneath the next holding cord, and also do a double half hitch with that. So now you can see this is the beginning of the 2 rows on this side, just like that. But we now need to continue the rows here, because obviously right now they're very short just in that crossover point, so we actually need to make them longer. So I'm just going to get my cord again, the same working cord that I was just using, because what we need to do is build this using the same working cord and the same holding cords. So I'm going to bring the working cord underneath the same holding cord that I just used, just bring it straight underneath, and then again using opposite hands than what we were just using, make a double half hitch, pull it all the way through, and then when you tighten this, you need to make sure to hold the holding cord in the same direction, going out to the side there as it was coming before, but then otherwise we just continue the row by making this knot right after the previous one, but the cord is just going in the opposite direction. Then bring the working cord underneath the next holding cord, make a double half hitch with that as well. And again, make sure you're holding that holding cord out in the same direction. So you can now see the rows are kind of growing, and we need to then change direction again. So take the working cord back underneath the same holding cord, and then repeat, but with opposite hands again. Just get the other ones out of the way. Double half hitch, and then go under the next holding cord with the same working cord, and also do a double half hitch. And you can really see the rows have gotten longer now, but still sitting next to each other, just like that. So I'm going to stop at this point here for now with these cords. So I'm just going to slightly put them out of the way to the side, because then we need to go back to the first ones that we started using as well. So on the other side here, and we still have 1 cord left of these 2 groups that we haven't used. That's this one, and that's also a long one. So now what we need to do on this side is technically the same that we just did here, but just in the opposite direction. So we need to continue the initial rows that we started out there. So I'm taking that long cord that we haven't used yet, putting it underneath the first holding cord here out to the left, doing a double half hitch to continue the row, and again make sure you hold the holding cord in the same direction as it's already going. Bring the working cord underneath the next holding cord, make a double half hitch again, like that, and then we can also really start to see that corner that we created, because the row is now coming out in opposite directions and they're getting longer as well. And change direction, so take your working cord underneath the same holding cord, and make your double half hitch again, tighten that in the same way, still making sure we're holding that holding cord in the same direction, so we're getting straight lines here, they're just coming out at an angle. Go underneath the next holding cord, tighten that nicely till we get to this side, and then just like before, one last time we need to change direction, so underneath the same holding cord, tighten that with your double half hitch, go underneath the next holding cord and make your last knot for this section right now. And then once you've done that, you can see we have the two rows right next to each other on either side there, going out to the sides at the same angle. So then what I'm going to do is just leave these groups of cords for now, because we need to make this exact same thing on the opposite side. So I'm just going to go to all these cords here and separate out the groups. So separate out the outer three, that's one group by itself, but then the rest here, we have these two groups, and we're just going to be doing the exact same thing we did here with those. So now I have the two middle sections in place there, right next to each other. See, they sit right by each other, and we're going to connect them, but not just yet. I want to just make the sides before I do that, because they also need to be connected. So I'm just going to move to one side first of all. Just start on whatever side you prefer, and we need to separate out the cord. So take the long cord, which is the inner one, and the two outer ones there are the short cords. And we need to start some rows again. So bring the working cord underneath the first holding cord, and make a double half hitch. Tighten that, and when you tighten that, you need to make sure you hold the holding cord straight down. So that's the direction that we need to create these rows in. Like that. Bring your working cord underneath the next holding cord. Make a double half hitch again. And tighten that, also straight down so it sits right next to the other one. And now change direction, so bring the same working cord there underneath the same holding cord, and then just with opposite hands now make your knot, and then again make sure it still comes straight down, just like that. Now go to the next holding cord to bring the working cord under that, and now what we need to do is actually put a bit of a curve in here. So start your half hitch, or your double half hitch, make a half hitch first, and then tighten that, just like that, just like before. But now, instead of making the other half of a double half hitch, I'm going to turn the direction straight away. So bring the working cord underneath the same holding cord. Basically we're doing it now within the knot. And then tighten that. So there we go. And then go straight to bringing it underneath the next holding cord. And then just make a regular double half hitch. So like that, tighten that, and then change direction again. So now we just continue. Do a double half hitch to make the rows longer. So what that did there, that we just kind of changed direction within the knot on the other side, that created a bit of a curve into the row. So bring it underneath the next holding cord, and what that does is it makes the end of this row move inwards a little bit, so it's going to end up meeting up with the end of the row on the inside section, which is exactly what we want. So they're kind of naturally going to meet up to where we're then going to connect them. Double half hitch, and we just need to change direction again because we need the working cord to end up on the outside. So back underneath, double half hitch. Just like that, and the final one, bring it underneath the last holding cord in this section, and then just make your double half hitch. And you can see we continue the rows, they're longer, but we have that slight curve in it, so actually you can see that they're meeting up just nicely with that inner section as well. So what we need to do is the exact same thing on the other side, but obviously just in a mirrored image because it's on the opposite side and we need it to go towards the inside, and also the cords are set in the opposite direction. So the inner one is the working cord. Start making your row with your double half hitch underneath the first holding cord and come straight down, just like that. And you basically just want to replicate the other side, so this row gently comes inwards and meets up with this section there. So then to connect the groups together here, you can see we have all the sections ready, but they're not connected. So to do that, what we need to do is grab the holding cords to connect two sections together. Now I'm just going to show you on the one here. So what I've done is I've separated out the holding cords from these two middle groups, just like that, and then we need to cross some cords over and under each other. So I'm starting with the two very middle ones, those right there, one from each side. And then what we need to do is pay attention to how we need to cross them over and under. So what I'm going to do is, because the last ones, if you look up here, I had obviously how it appears, but what appears to be from the right side that crosses over the lengths from the left side. So here I want it to be opposite. So that means we need to have the left cord crossing over the right one, because it's the holding cord. Whichever one is the holding cord is the direction that the rows are going to appear to go in. So that means I then take the one that comes underneath and make my double half hitch, and then you can basically see instantly that it's going to continue the row from the left side there, which means it's going to appear to be the left one that comes over the right one this time. Make another one to make it a full double half hitch, and then you just take the other holding cord from that right group that also comes underneath, and you make a double half hitch and continue the row the same, like that. And then we just need to use the last one of all these 4 holding cords. So just take that over the 2 ones that are kind of turned into working cords for now, and then do the exact same things to continue the row that's right underneath it, like that. And then you can really start to see that they now appear like they're going over the other group. And the last one, double half hitch here. So there we go. And now these 2 groups or sections right there in the middle are connected by using the holding cords. So that's just what you want to do with the outside ones as well. So now that I have all the sections connected here, you can see it's all one piece. I want to go back to just the middle sections again. So again, just one side at a time. I'm just going to start with my left one, same as I did before. And then what we need to do is first of all separate the cords out. So in this case also I want to add the beads in. So if you don't want them, obviously just leave that out. But if you do, we need to add the beads to the 2 working cords. So that one there of the right group of those 2 that we're going to be working with now. And then the other one on the other side. So the 2 inner cords there are the actual working cords, and make sure the beads go all the way down, because then they're going to end up sitting right in there in the corners. So to then start the next rows, what we're going to do is use these working cords to continue the rows that are already there. So on the left side here, just using one group at a time, just going to get the others out of the way fully. Just working with these 2 groups here. Then I'm just going to start with the left one, because then what we need to do is bring that working cord underneath the first holding cord. Get them a little bit out of the way. So we're going to continue the rows coming from the left here. So what you're going to do is make a double half hitch with the working cord, like that. And then by doing that, make sure the bead obviously stays in that corner, but that then traps the bead in place. And it's going to keep sitting right there in the corner, and just add that nice embellishment. And then go into the next holding cord. So you can see now we're starting to grow the rows here. Now change direction. So bring the working cord under the same holding cord. Tighten that in the same angle that it's already going. So we're just kind of making straight lines now. And go under the next holding cord. Pull it all the way through. So you just need to tighten up that one again. Before I tighten this one, hold the holding cord straight in the same direction. And do the double half hitch and change direction again. One last time just for this section here. There we go, under the next holding cord. And you double half hitch, tighten the final one. So there you can see we've continued the rows, and what we've actually done is done another side to this little diamond, you could say. So what we're also going to do to make sure we can complete it is the other group of these two that we're working with. We need to do the same here, but obviously coming in the opposite direction, going towards the one we just made. So the two ends of them are going to end up meeting up, and again we obviously need to connect that once we've done it. So take the working cord underneath the first holding cord, make your double half hitch to start this out, and you basically just do what I just showed you. Again, this is just mirrored because it's now going in the opposite direction, but we're making double half hitches going from side to side 3 times. So now we have the final side there on the diamond or the square. We're going to be able to connect them, and we might as well just do that straight away. So again, just pay attention to how we need it to cross over and under, so how it appears with the rows. So that means on this side, the last time we crossed over, that's what we always need to look at. The last time we did a crossover, it was the left one that came over the right one. So here we need the right one to come over the left one. So that means the cords from the right are going to be the holding cords. So just bring the first one over the other two there, and they're coming out underneath, so they're going to be the working cords for now. And then just bring them together by making a double half hitch with one at a time. So we're continuing those rows from the right, and it's just to achieve that intertwining effect with the rows there of how it appears. And then the other holding cord comes over the two working cords, and we'll continue, and then we'll connect it, this section together, so we now have the full diamond in place, just like that. So all you need to do now is repeat this exact thing on the other side right there in the middle, so we have 2 diamonds right next to each other. So now we have both diamonds there sitting right next to each other, and they're both complete. Then we need to get on to the point here where we kind of do this, add this little twist in to the pattern. So what I'm going to do first of all again is add some beads if you want to. So what I'm going to just do is work on one side at a time again. So I'm just going to work on the left section that I also made the left diamond with, and then the outer one is the working cord, so that's the long one. I'm going to add a bead to that, and then also the outer one on the other side. Again, that's the working cord. So every time we add beads here, we're adding them so they're sitting in the corners of whichever section that we're adding them to. So then what we need to do is make this little twist. So what I'm going to do is start on one side, and I'm going to take my working cord underneath the first holding cord, and then you can see, make sure that that bead stays trapped in that corner. Then we need to do a double half hitch. And first of all, we're just continuing the row. So hold the holding cord in the same angle, like that. And then take the working cord under the next holding cord. And then we need to make a half a hitch. Because then what we need to do is basically the same that we did up here. We need to change direction within the knot. So kind of within the double half hitch. So done half. And then we need to change direction straight away, so bring it under the same holding cord, and then tighten that, then bring it under the outer holding cord again, and then make a regular double half hitch with that. So now you can kind of see the rows have changed direction a little bit, which is exactly what we want because we need to get that little twist in. Just pulling that nicely. Change direction. A double half hitch on the outer holding cord here. Get to the inner holding cord, and here we need to do the same that we just did with the first knot on this holding cord. It needs to change direction within the knot. So that means make the first half and then bring the working cord underneath the holding cord straight away. Just need to retighten that first one. So just like that. And then bring the working cord under the outer holding cord. And then make a double half hitch again. So just a regular double half hitch with the outer one. And you can really start to see that we're getting a curve into it. So instead of kind of having this row going outwards away from the piece, it's coming around and coming back in towards the middle. So that's the double half hitch, and that's that side done. So just put those 3 cords out of the way, and then we need to move to the other side here and do the same thing but mirrored. So I start out again taking the long working cord that has a bead on it, bringing that underneath the first holding cord, and make a double half hitch. Tighten that, so again that bead gets trapped right there in the corner. Go under the next holding cord, so the inner one, and this is where we just want to make the first half. So we change direction within the knot, tighten that first half, bring the working cord underneath to go in the opposite direction, and then tighten that. And now bring it back under the outer holding cord, make a regular double half hitch. So we have the first little curve in place. Change direction. Again, because we're in the outer holding cord, this is just a regular double half hitch. Like that. Go under the inner holding cord. And again, this is where we need to change direction within the knot. So we just make the first half and then instantly bring it underneath the holding cord to make the other half in the opposite direction. Like that. And then go to the outer one underneath that and make a regular double half hitch on this one. So this is exactly what we did on the other side, but obviously just kind of mirrored from each other. So we end up with the 2 curves opposite each other and the ends there going against each other, so they end up wanting to meet up. And that's exactly what we want them to do, because then what we need to do with these 2 as well is actually connect them together, so we get a full little twist there. So I'm just going to do that straight away. That means we're going to use the holding cords for that, just like all the other times that we have a crossover point. So again, just pay attention to how we need to cross them over and under. So what we need to do is make it so it looks like a twist. So that means I need the right group there to look like it's coming over the left one, which is technically the same as the first one there, so it's not opposite, but it's because we need to look like a twist. So just make sure you take the first holding cord from the right, and that goes over the 2 on the left, and do a double half hitch to connect them there. So you just continue the row like that. Take the other one, double half hitch, and then use the last holding cord that we haven't used yet, bring it over the 2 temporary working cords, and then make a double half hitch with each of them. Again, just continuing now the outer row. So we fully connect this together. And the last one, double half hitch, just like that. And now we have the twisting and the 2 sides of the 2 groups also connected again. So what you want to do now is repeat this exact thing I just showed you on the other side, the same as repeated that first initial diamond. Right after that diamond, we just want to use these 2 groups to make the twist under that as well. So now that I have both twists in place there, what I'm just going to do is continue working with these sections, because what we need to do is get to a point where we can bring the side groups up and meet up with them, but they just need to get a little bit further on. So I'm just going to show you on one again, take the other section out of the way there. So on the left one here, same thing you're going to do on the right one, that's why I'm just starting with that one. First of all, I just want to drop down my beads. So again, that's going to be on the outer cord, so the long ones, the working ones, because again, this is going to be a corner, just like the very beginning of the twist, it's the same position there. So what I'm going to do is, basically we need to make 1/2 of the diamond after this twist. So I'm going to bring my working cord underneath the first holding cord, tighten that and make sure the bead stays in that corner, do a double half hitch, and go underneath the next holding cord, just like that. Again, make a double half hitch, and now what we want to do is again just create that straight line to make it a side on the diamond. So bring the working cord back under the same holding cord to change direction. Hold the holding cord in the same direction as well. Make a double half hitch, go under the outer holding cord, like that, and make a double half hitch again. Before we then need to change direction once more to go back the opposite way. Make double half hitch before you then move on under the next holding cord and make the final double half hitch in this little section. Just like that. So that's one side of that diamond done, and that was one group. So now I'm going to move over to the other side, to the other group in the same section, and just do the exact same thing. So take the working cord with a bead under the first holding cord, create this row of knots, double half hitches in the exact same way as we just did here, but just in a mirrored image, and make the same amount as well, so we end up with the working cord coming out in towards each other right there in the middle. So you can see once we've done the sections there, we have the first half of that diamond as well. So what you want to do now is just repeat what we just did on this other section right underneath that twist. And now that I did that side as well, you can see those two rows, or those two sides of the diamond, are coming towards each other and want to naturally cross over. That's basically just exactly like the one we did up here. So you might as well now just make that crossover point. So what you just got to do is figure out again how we need to cross it over and under. So in this case, the last ones, they both crossed over from the right to the left. So in this case, we need the left one to cross over the right. So that means the left one is going to be the holding cords. So just take the first cord out of them, put it over the ones from the right, and then connect them by making some double half hitches here, continuing those rows. A double half hitch with the other temporary working cord, and then we can grab the last cord that we haven't used, make a double half hitch with each again, and you can see that we're continuing those rows and it's appearing to cross over in the right direction compared to the last crossover sections that we did. So just like that. That is now ready for the next step, and we have connected the whole piece in place still for what we can do for now. So this is the mid part of it, you could say, the main part of the pattern. So what we need to do now though is to be able to continue this, we just need to bring these side groups back into it as well. So again, just like the other times, I'm going to start on one side and just show you that, and then we need to repeat on the other side, but then in a mirrored image. So I'm just going to get all these other cords out of the way to not get too tangled up, and I'm just going to start on my left side here. And again, we need to remember, if you want to add in beads, add that to the long working cord. So separate them out, and that's the very outer one there. So just add your bead onto that so it drops down right there in that corner once we've made these rows. Then what we need to do is start making rows here, but obviously you can see it's going to be quite a bit more distance to cover than what we've done previously. So it's just going to be slightly different. So I'm going to take the working cord first of all underneath the first holding cord, so starting out in the exact same way. Make a double half hitch, and then that also traps that bead in place. Go under the next holding cord, just make another regular double half hitch with that. So we've started out these rows now, and it's kind of going out towards the side at an angle. Change direction, so bring it underneath the same holding cord, make a double half hitch, and make sure to hold that holding cord in the same direction that the row is already going in. Go under the next one and do another double half hitch. Tighten it nicely. like that. Change direction again, going back in towards the middle of the piece with the the working cord. Make a double half hitch, and then now what we need to do is add in that first little curve. So this is where we need to change direction within the knot. So make the first half, tighten that, bring it underneath straight away to the opposite direction, and then just make the other half like that. Go to the next holding cord and just make a regular double half hitch. And then what you're going to see is that the rows now will change directions, so they're going to start to come straight down rather than going out to the side. And now what we need to do is make some straight lines here, coming straight down for a little bit. Just change direction. So we're just going to keep making double half hitches for now. Pull it all the way through. Go under the next holding cord. Double half hitch. Change direction. And you can see nicely now, especially if we have a bit more length, how we have that curve in there. That just helps gently change direction of the row. Under the next one, to the outer holding cord, make a double half hitch. Before we then need to change direction again to come back in towards the middle with the working cord. Go under the next one. So we've now more or less reached the midpoint here of this row, so the length that it's going to be. So we still need to make them straight. A double half hitch, change direction. And then go under the next holding cord, again that's the outer one. Just keep making your knots coming straight down here. Change direction again. A regular double half hitch on the outer one. And then come underneath the inner holding cord, and now what we need to do is add in that curve again. So here we need to make the first half, tighten that, go underneath straight away to the opposite direction, and then make the other half within the same knot like that. Go underneath the next holding cord, and now again make a regular double half hitch. Tighten that nicely. And then what this is going to do is change direction slightly yet again to once more come a bit further towards the inside. Change direction. Now we need to make regular double half hitches for the rest of it, because what we need is for this row that we're making to end up meeting up with the end of this row that's going out towards that side. So that's why we also need to put in those little curves where they change direction. A regular double half hitch again. You can see we have that change of direction within the row again. Change direction in the knot. Go back towards the outside. A double half hitch before you then go underneath the next holding cord, that's the outer one, to make the last double half hitch. And then you can see we end up with a perfect fit right there. So the two ends of those rows are going towards each other and they're actually meeting up just perfectly. So obviously what we need to do is connect them as well, just like we did in the middle. So take the two holding cords from each of these two groups that are meeting up. Remember to cross it over and under in the right direction. So that means I need to do the same as I did in the middle. So the left ones need to go over the right ones. Make a double half hitch to basically continue the row that we've just been building. Like that, and the next one. So we're using the holding cords now again just for this connection point. And then the last one is coming over the working cords, the temporary working cords. And just continue the row over this crossover point with that one as well. Just a regular double half hitch. And now we've connected those two sections together as well, so it's all coming together more and more. All this left to do now for this little area is do the other side the exact same way. Obviously it's just going to be mirrored because it's on the other side. So add your bead to the outer one, that's the long holding or working cord, sorry, and then you just start making your rows of knots in the same way but just mirrored. And just remember where we added in those curves, the exact same amount of knots, and then connect the two sections together down there as well. So now you can see I've completed the other side as well and connected the point. So we have one full solid piece for now by connecting those crossover sections. So all we got to do now really is repeat this. So what that basically means is that this section here, so from the middle of the diamonds to the middle of the next diamonds here where we ended up, that's the section that we now need to keep repeating until we reach the length that we want. So that means right now I will just move on to making the other half of the diamonds one at a time. So just working from side to side, make the twist on either side, and then the first half of the next diamond, and then obviously bring the sides up again like I just showed you here to meet up with them. And that's all you got to keep doing. So then I reached the point where I've got the length that I want minus the clasp, and then I've made my final full section there. And then what we need to do now is finish off the end here in the same way that we actually started out. So I'm just going to start with the side section, so start on one side at a time, separate the other cords out of the way. I'm going to take my left group of cords, and then the very outer one there, just like all the other times in the midsections we've been doing, I need to add my bead onto that outer cord, which is the working cord, and then we just need to start in the same way. So bring it underneath the first holding cord, so that's the middle of the three, and then start making your double half hitches in the same exact way that we've been doing throughout the whole middle part of the bracelet. You can see we're then continuing the rows there from the previous section. Another double half hitch under the next one. And now change direction to bring it under the same holding cord and continue the rows by making another double half hitch under the next one. So the outer holding cord, double half hitch again, and then we need to change direction once more to come towards the inside, and then go to the inner holding cord, and this is the one where we need to change direction within the knot. So make the first half and then bring it underneath straight away to the opposite direction to then make the other half. Like that. Bring it to the outside cord again, holding cord underneath it, make regular double half hitch, just like that. And this is where the rows are going to start coming straight down instead of going out to the side at an angle. Change direction. Make a double half hitch there, and then come underneath the next one in towards the middle and make a double half hitch with that. And then I'm going to leave that here at this point for now, because then what we need to do is just move to the other side and do the exact same thing. So again, add your bead to the outside one and then make the row in the same way here, but obviously just in the mirrored image. So now we have the two side sections ready. We need to just also complete the middle sections there. So I'm just going to start with one side at a time again. Doesn't matter which one. Bring in the other ones I'm not using out to the side just to get them out of the way. So just like that there. And then here I'm working with these cords. So these two groups where we would normally make that diamond, and that is pretty much what we're going to be doing. But first of all, again, I just want to make sure I take the two inner ones, so the working cords, and just add my bead just like that. And then start with one of them. We need to then continue the rows of knots to obviously make that diamond. So I'm going to just bring it underneath and make my first double half hitch, and that also captures that bead in place. and under the next holding cord, another double half hitch. Then we need to change direction to continue the row. And now we're just doing the straight rows here, so we're just continuing that same angle that we're already doing. And the next holding cord, let's get these a little bit more out of the way, go underneath that with the working cord, like that, and then back again, because obviously we need to bring it down to a point where the two rows from either side are going to meet up, but also we get that completed diamond. And then the final one, another double half hitch with that. So we now have the first row in place using these three cords there. So I'm basically going to continue and repeat this on the other side within that same diamond. So take the working cord where the bead is on underneath the first holding cord, so that's the middle one. Make a double half hitch to tighten that bead in place, but also start out these rows. And then basically, like I said, we're just doing the exact same thing. We're just working in the opposite direction to the rows that we just did. Again, just doing them straight lines. So we make a double half hitch on each of our holding cords with the working cord. Just like that, before we then change direction and make another double half hitch on each of the holding cords. So like that, and the last one here under the last holding cord, because then we have both rows long enough to meet up right there in the middle and get connected, just like that. So we have them in place. Just going to get these out of the way again. So we have the three cords from each side. Again, just bring them in. Just going to get that one a bit more out of the way as well. So now we need to connect the two sides. So we just start out doing that in the exact same way as all the other times. We use the holding cords for that. So separate them out and just again pay attention to which one you need to bring over, just to keep the pattern going. So I'm taking, in this case, my right one, and then starting out, making my knots, continuing the row from the right there. And then go under the next holding cord from that right side. So we're completing this point of the diamond. Now leave that working cord, go back to the other one from the left side. So that's that one there. And then we need to make a knot on the first holding cord. Just a regular double half hitch. And then bring it under the next one. But then on here, just like we did in the beginning, I'm only just making a half hitch. So just leave it at that first one, because then that's the right spacing we have, because what we're going to end up doing is a straight line under here, and if you make another knot, that's just going to add a bit more spacing that we don't need. So like I said, just like I did it in the beginning. Now repeat this to complete the other diamond as well with these cords that we have left that we haven't used yet. And just once you've done that, you end up with all the rows of knots here kind of in the same place, so we can then make our straight lines. To then make those straight rows of knots underneath, all I'm going to do is again start from one side. It doesn't matter what side you start from, but take the very outer cord on whichever side you choose, bring it across the top of all the others, and we're going to use this as the holding cord to create the row. And then we're going to go through each and every single of these cords one at a time and use them as a working cord. So the first one is the second from that side, coming underneath. Do a double half hitch around the holding cord, and then when you tighten this, make sure to hold the holding cord straight up to the side, so it basically lines up with the bottom of all these rows, just like that. And then take the very next cord once you've used that. So that's also from this group. That was the working cord from the group. Make a double half hitch, again holding the holding cord straight up to the side. And now, to connect all these sections together as well, we need to move over to the next available cord, which is the working cord from this section here. Make a double half hitch, and then you just continue the row, and that also makes it one full piece. Grab the very next one, so just make sure you grab the very next cord every single time so you don't accidentally cross them over each other, and then just continue like this right till the end till you used all of them. And now what we need to do is make the same amount of rows as we did in the beginning, so I'm going to take this holding cord and go back and forth until I've made 3 rows here, just like we have in the beginning, so we have the same spacing in place. So now that I've finished off this end here, then it looks a little something like this. You see you have the pattern going all the way along. And then what we need to do now is finish off the ends, obviously, before it's completely finished. So I'm just going to show you on this end here, because we just basically need to get rid of the excess cords and then also attach the ribbon ends. So what I'm going to do is, these long cords, I want to cut off the excess, but make sure to just leave a short little tail. Now what I'm going to be doing is singeing the ends, because I'm using a synthetic cord. I can do that. If you're using a natural cord, you're going to have to use glue right down here where the cord's coming out from. But what I'm going to do then is cut off the excess. So there's a couple of millimeters left there. Something like that. And also that last one. And then, to get rid of those little ends and also seal the whole thing in place, I'm going to take a lighter. Now obviously this is going to be a naked flame, so it's going to be hot, be careful with it. But what I'm going to do is use that to singe down the ends, just like that. And that's why I said you can do this if you use a synthetic cord. But if you use a natural one, it's just going to burn the cord, that's not going to work. But just like that, and then you can press in while it's still soft and a bit warm, and it just seals the ends of the cord in place nicely. And also we're not really adding any extra bulk that's going to go inside the ribbon end. So just do that on the other end with those cords coming out on the side as well. Once I have the ends ready here, then we need to get out a ribbon end. Just going to show you how to do it on one end here. And what I'm also going to use is some glue. So I'm going to be using this E6000. It's because it dries clear, so if anything comes spilling out, you're not really going to be able to see it, but also it's nice and strong. So I'm just going to open that up, and then I'm just going to be using a toothpick to help apply it. So just get a bit on the toothpick, like that, so we can get it inside of the ribbon end. So I'm just taking one at a time, and then get it inside, and make sure to then cover the sides all the way along. Just like that. We don't need to add too much, because it's really just to be able to grab onto the piece, because the ribbon ends themselves are already going to grab on. I just like to add the glue for the extra security and longevity of the piece. So just something a bit like this, and then whatever I have left on the toothpick, I usually always like to put on the end of my piece and just get it in between the rows there, so that when we do put them together, they're going to adhere nicely with each other. So just get the excess onto it. So just something a bit like that. And then we just put the ribbon end onto the end of the piece. And make sure it's going to sit in the middle. And then I like to kind of hold the piece in my hand and then put a finger on either side of the ribbon end to help hold it in place, while I then take some flat nose pliers and then start squeezing it down. So I don't go into one place and just put a big squeeze into it. I like to kind of start in one place and then do a little at a time, gently move from side to side and have it get tighter and tighter. And then when it's almost all the way there, I just double check that it's still in the middle, and if I'm still happy with it, it sits properly, I'm going to then squeeze all the way down and just give it a bit of force, because that's going to then be nice and secure. And then obviously we need to let the glue dry. I also just like to come in from the end, just close up the end nicely. But then do that on the other side, let the glue dry like I said, and you can just use that loop in the ribbon ends to attach your findings to. So once I finish both ends off there with the ribbon ends, I have my clasp on one and then the extended chain on the other end, and then you can just use that to wear it. It's going to sit securely on the wrist using the clasp here, and you're going to have this pattern that we created with the macrame going all the way around the wrist, giving this really nice kind of twisted Celtic effect. So I really hope you enjoyed watching how to make this bracelet. Do let me know what you think, and thank you very much for watching.